Well, shalom. Welcome back. While you were away, whew, it's so much. It's so much. Okay, so part of us pulling this miracle off is we have to be vibing. There's a vibrational frequency and wavelength that, thanks to this internet and everything, we can do this remotely. And I'm telling you, at this point, I don't think we got off the boat. Noah's boat? Yes, Noah's boat. We still in here. And oh my God, so much happened since you were away just a few minutes. Think about that. What if we still on the boat? We still on the ark. We're still in the ark. The earth is a spaceship for sure. Okay. And it has the power to navigate through the galaxies. We've been stationary because the earth wasn't yielding her strength to just anybody. So we're going to get on with it. And you are, as long as you're here for the ride, you are co-pilots. I had help. Okay. And I'm going to tell you about that help later. The Holy Bible and religions were intended to provide solutions for the physical, mental, and emotional challenges that spiritual beings experience in life from time to time since the beginning of time, as a source of encouragement, moral strength, and hope that we otherwise would not have or find. Spiritual leaders or ministers of faith are supposed to be a medium for the guiding light of life to help people earn grace and mercy from the Lord God Almighty, creator of the universe. Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh. And for those of you who are not familiar with Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh, the Tetragrammaton is the Hebrew word for God. Okay? Something very different is happening though. And the sacred writings of Shiva was channeled through me to help myself and others to overcome the barriers in life that is holding us back from entering through the gates of the great holy city, New Jerusalem, also known as Zion. Okay, and some may call it Zion. So this is what I'm talking about right here. Zion, which is basically a crown bob. Okay, so Zion is the 7th Hebrew letter. But in the Bible, you may see this. Z-I-O-N. This is in the Bible where we all trying to get to. All 7 books in this series of writings were divinely inspired by faith in the covenant God of Israel that I was taught, whose name is Yahweh, or more appropriately written as Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh. So, Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh. So it's Yud-Heh-Wav-Heh in Hebrew, and it's Yahweh. That's the English transliteration And we can talk some more about that too, but that's not right now. The Holy Bible was used to channel a message to the spirit, mind, and body of those whom are descendants of the patriarchs, prophets, and believers of this great work. This great work being the Holy Bible and everything that religion has taught us. If it's, has to do with faith and has to do with God and the spirit and consciousness. So all of those great works combined is relevant. I found to be relevant. There is real magic, protection, blessing, and cursing spells that has been misused, both intentionally and unknowingly, that has been used to abuse and confuse so many people that are and was purely searching for salvation. It is also used for devil worshiping, sorcery, idolatry, and to seduce innocent, unsuspecting souls into many forms of fornication. Well, the seals have been loosed, spells broken, and veils lifted in pursuit of the promised land. Praying for salvation from abuse and confusion that plagued my life after being painfully injured in domestic violence, maimed, and left for dead without a justice remedy in this world. And that too is in another chapter of the book. Right now, we just focusing on chapter 7, which is not only a conclusion, but also an introduction to everything else. So, as of date, I have been learning, studying, believing, and truly seeking for 39 years. I have not been perfect as I was taught, but right now, I just need some clarity on what has been really going on. And that is the who's, the what's, the when, where, how, and the why. The questions that I really never asked for myself until now. I think that just following our leaders and taking their words for it is how we all have mostly been going about this. And if not all of us, then I am sure that the we constitutes a majority of believers that hold the faith that is deeply rooted in the Holy Bible. So we all confused. We all need clarity, okay? And the sacred writings of Shabbat can provide more clarity. No matter what conclusion that may be derived from my writings, I know that it is real because, for lack of better words to describe my experiences, the Holy Bible played out in reality with physical, mental, and spiritual manifestations in my life. It was super amazing, kind of scary, and totally beyond the scope of my expectations or anything that I could have ever imagined. For instance, I was murdered, resurrected, reincarnated, spoke with spiritual entities, traveled back in time where the children of Israel were in the wilderness with Moses, received answers to the plenteous prophetic riddles, and was imparted a mission to help all of us transition into the next era. I was also returned to another beginning of creation into the Garden of Eden as Eve. The Last Supper. These are the sacred writings of Shabbat. Eve, the mother, the Ima of all living. And Ima, I use this word all my life, but I recently found that it had another meaning besides mother. But Ima That's the Hebrew word for mother. It's also the Hebrew word for something else, and that explains a lot. Again, a subject for a later date. Adam's breath of life and or breath of life. So we have a breath of life, but there's also breath of life. Okay, so we're talking about breath, and then we're talking about the breath. Okay, so you're going to have to look these words up for yourself, you know, if you need to. But this is not an elementary kind of step-by-step guide. You have to have or be able to find out like the meanings to simple words like that. Okay. As required for me to make this supposition and present a proper exposition of the answers to my inquisitions about Yahweh, our relationship to Yahweh, salvation, the purpose of life, and of the tree of eternal life. I mean, how many others are trying to understand eternal life? Like, really? Okay. As far as that is concerned, what I'm hoping this miracle can bring, I mean, it was kind of discussed, you know, in my visions, but I think that our next evolution is not only like part of the miracle, which is actually a result of us doing the do and walking the walk. Another part of the miracle is that, yeah, life, we were really designed to live forever. Those don't listen to the scientists. They don't know everything, okay? Remember, the knowledge was stolen, people was robbed. That's not blessed knowledge. Nothing we have in this world, well, up until now, minus a few exceptions, but a lot of it was taken. A lot of the real knowledge was suppressed. There was a lot of war. There was a lot of wrongdoing surrounding the real knowledge. And that's really where a lot of the sciences came from. Like, a lot of the technology that was built that's destroying the earth right now is because of that. And it's related to that, and it's related to the intentions of the people who's using the knowledge. So, as required for me to make this supposition and present a proper exposition of the answers to my inquisitions. So, the book is basically an exposition and then answers to my inquisitions about Yahweh, our relationship to Yahweh, salvation, the purpose of life, and of the tree of eternal life for the enhancement and psychosocial well-being of mankind, earth, and the future generations of creators, co-creators, and elements of creation. We emerge as knights of the luminous cipher from the bottomless smoke pit, swim once again through the lake of fire as a living sacrifice to show forth the praises of him who have called us out of darkness into his marvelous light as bearers of the flaming sword and burning torch of life. Okay, so there are knights of the luminous cipher, and that is knights, heroes, if you want to call it. Toda Abba, thank you, Father, for your loving kindness and mercy that endures forever. Now, based on the last supposition, and that's why they call it the Last Supper, the last supposition prepared by Yahweh ben Yahweh and Yeshua the Messiah, also known as Jesus Christ, Yahweh is salvation, and charity is the chariot that gets us to heaven, to the promised land, the kingdom of shalom, and good life for all eternity, as declared in the Holy Bible to our forefathers, the saints, and the prophets. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, there's no J in the Hebrew language, okay? And so Jesus, that name, that word, it means Yahweh is salvation, okay? It's a Greek name, it's a Greek word. And actually, there's no J in Greek. So this like came later. This J, this letter J. And you know, that's not something everybody know. So I just wanted to share that with you. So Yeshua the Messiah is basically what Jesus Christ means. Christ means Messiah. Well, amongst other things, but that's the generally accepted transliteration of the word Christ. Toda Abba, for teaching me how to study. That to study means to research all of the facts about a thing, seek to understand the nature of that thing, then learn how to apply all of that information to better my life as an individual and the nation, constituting the earth and the people of the earth as a whole. Okay, so Yahweh ben Yahweh taught me how to study, and that is his definition of study. Okay, I have found, after a lifetime of bearing witness to the wonders, blessings, and curses of the Lord, 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, living off of faith in Yahweh, 30 years of research and making preparations for a better future, that this is what we must do to reach the ideal frequency and wavelength of the life eternal, joyous soul in this day and time. And it is simply, if we stop playing with fire, then we will not get burned. And I'll go into that another time, but that's related to the lake of fire and all the fiery stuff that was going on in Revelations and throughout the Holy Bible has been grossly misunderstood. According to Morris Bishop, one of the linguistic scientists involved with the development of the American Heritage Dictionary, the words of a living language are like creatures. They are alive. Each word has a physical character, a look, and a personality, an ancestry, an expectation of life and death, a hope of posterity. This is from the regular American Heritage Dictionary. You ever read the 100 pages that come before the letter A? Yes. Part of the magic is in our words. There are magic words, spells to open gates and safes, summon spirits, put an end to the world. What are magic spells but magic spellings? And now, the moment that has been long awaited for many, by many, for at least 6,000 years. The fall of the great city Babylon and the rise of the holy great city New Jerusalem. So that's the miracle. The cat's out the bag. Not all the cats are out the bag, but that's like the Big Bang, right? Because we've been waiting for that for a long time. To salvage as many lives as is possible, and for the resurrection of as many people as is possible, I must now employ and apply my wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Hebrew and English language to unveil and neutralize the sorceries in the Holy Bible that has been a stumbling block for good people. I have prepared 7 books using the living language of God and Jinn as a guide and light for us to receive our new heaven and new earth. Now, I'm going to talk about jinn beings, which are, in short, the seven spirits of creation. In Genesis chapter 1, and we in the beginning, jinn beings co-created heaven and earth. At first, the earth was without form and void of light and life. Darkness was upon the face of the deepest ones in the abyss of the unseen realm. The seven spirits of God, plus Abba and Ima, moved upon the face of the waters in thin air without physical forms. Then Abba said, "Let there be light bearers." So heaven, air, and fire brought forth the luminous cipher and loose fire, which separated the enlightened jinn beings from the not so enlightened jinn beings. So God saw that the light was good and called the light day. But the dark ones were called night and nights. Okay, so the dark ones, and this is basically the other part of the story. This is Genesis chapter 1. So the dark ones were called night and nights. So there's that word again. And this is what it's connected to. Okay? This was the first generation of Eve and the morning star, or the evening and why there is morning. To even things out a little more, God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, to divide the waters above from the waters below." Then from the mist that went up into the heaven and down upon the earth, during the process of the firmament creation, fire, air, and water used the rays of light. They used the rays of light to help earth bring forth the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. One of the fruits from the tree of life was Adam, the human body, and coats of biological material known to us as skin, for jinn beings to inhabit earth, till the ground, live in heaven, and traverse the dry land as co-creators of a perpetual ordered cycle of creation. And so they thought. However, Adam has a mind of their own. So the jinn beings must now apply the knowledge of good and evil that 6,000 years of learning from eras and eras. Okay, so here, and this is how our knowledge got mixed up, right? Part of it was through language. Okay, so there were eras, right? A new era, a new time. And then there were errors. Now, those words are spelled differently, but they're homonyms. Homonymous is what they call that. They have the same sound, but they're spelled different and they have different meanings. Okay? Earth, Adam, and Jinn all possess the ability to form a potentially ideal symbiotic relationship with one another, where the alignment of frequencies and wavelengths enables them to perform miracles and attain the ultimate stage of life eternal. So remember I said, like, part of working the miracle together is that we have to be vibing with one another, because this is related to frequencies and wavelengths. So, another cat out the bag. When this alignment is achieved, Earth transforms into a vessel of time and space travel through the heavens. Adam unlocks another wonderful realm of unlimited consciousness and power of creating, making new amazing realities. And we, all of us, descended from Adam. Okay? All of us. Okay? One of the fruits from the tree of knowledge and good and evil is the Holy Bible. The mystical two-edged flaming sword and lake of fire, or lame words of fools with dual meanings and lack of fire. It was construed and written using a spell-casting Babylonian language that causes confusion. To the average, to the average speaker, you see how many times I showed you those words that sound alike, but they're different? This is part of the game, but it's okay. It's just a riddle. We had to grow up and figure it out. It was crafted by the enchanted dark ones of the night. It leads those on the path through the loose fire of the fiery furnace in the evening, or through the dark passions brewing in their hearts and minds. It also contains a luminous cipher with hidden knowledge decodable only by the hearts and minds of truth seekers who has reached a certain level of morality, ethical responsibility, and there we go again, frequency and wavelength, which is usually achieved after overcoming a considerable amount of trials and tribulations. Life is the name of the game. Okay, so that is the trials and the tribulations is like I had to go through an unbelievable tribulation before this knowledge was given to me. Okay. But that's why it's important for us to perform this miracle together. So we basically, I basically built a bridge and need help walking across the bridge. And that's why we're walking together. And that's why, in part of my introduction, I called it help. Because the bridge is a bridge across the lake of fire. Okay? Oh, how Adam mourns for the light of nights. Okay, so we're talking about this night. Okay, we don't have to play the night game. Well, the NIGHT game. We can just be knights. Okay? Rescuing, helping, grace and mercy. That's how we going to play this game. Okay? They played a dark game in the past. But we don't have to play that game. The Knights of the Luminous Cipher were created to help those treading the path of life eternal, gatekeepers of the straight way. There comes a time in every Adam's life when he or she must transform into the light of day to emit sun rays of life upon the earth and navigate through the night into the next era. In this case, the promised land, Zion, which was preordained to occur on the seventh day. Fulfillment of prophecy, as in the revelations of John, is the catch-22. So you know what a catch-22 is, right? That's what the whole Bible, but more specifically Revelations, and that's why it's 22 chapters in that book. It's a catch-22. The seven angels of the churches are partially responsible for inspiring the prophets, spiritual leaders, founders of the world's religions, implementing governments, and consequently also the many who were slain for the word of God and or the testimonies which they held, especially in the name of Yeshua, who was also known as Jesus. Remember, we covered that. Jinn have many names. Okay, and here's another thing. I know there's a whole religion or belief in jinn, or I've seen it like that. Okay, but we're not talking about these jinn. Okay, we're not talking about that. We're talking about uh-oh, I dropped the paper. Okay, I'll just write it again. We are talking about jinn. Okay, and the Hebrew word for jinn is gimel, nun Sophie. I also seen it as gimel, nun Sophie. Okay, in Hebrew, this word means garden. Yes, the jinn were in the garden. So I'm going to tell you about the relationship eventually. But it's just important to know that jinn have many names, lived, died, and were reincarnated many times. Revelations is about the judgment of the Knights of the Loose Fire and Knights of the Luminous Cipher, and their works do follow them from life to life. Okay, so when we're talking about the loose fire, and I don't know if you made the connection between loose fire and Lucifer, but luminous cipher and loose fire, well, actually the word Lucifer is a play on those two words, those two concepts. Okay, so the Knights of the Loose Fire, they were the darkest ones. And it just means, I know we associate night with evil and, but that's not the original configuration. Okay, so when we're talking about the loose fire, we just talking about the darkest ones in the unseen realm. Like they in their element. Okay? When Yahweh said, "Let there be light," these are the ones who brought forth the light. Now, if they brought forth the light, then they were called knights. And they were lining up to become day. It was just like a position. Night, a cycle, okay? A cycle. So you go from night, and then if you have the luminous cipher, or you can figure it out, like what we're doing right now is part of the luminous cipher. Then earning grace and mercy, you can see how that's associated with being a knight in shining armor. Right. The next thing is becoming day. That was like the ultimate goal, okay? But not everybody was able to become day at the same time. So step into the light. That's what this is all about. Imagine how bright we're going to be, stepping into the light all at one time together. Okay? The light bulbs don't go off in our minds and our spirits at the same, we don't all emit the same lumens of light, okay? But we are all light beings nonetheless. And we just have to put our intentions there. That's where it really came from. You have to want to. You had to been seeking. We covered that. Death itself is an entity whom I had the honor of conversing with in my search for answers about the tree of life. Funny thing is that they are the flip side of the same coin, a match made in heaven. I asked Death, why are people dying? And where does he go when he dies? He said that he is transformed into the angel of life. So what about Hades, I asked. He said hell is transformed into heaven. And that's part of the miracle. We have to transform this hell into heaven. Okay? With irony, he added, someone has to hold down a fork. Speaking of forks, I asked Satan when he appeared, because you know how the Bible always say, Satan always, starting stuff. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It happened to me. So I asked him, like, why did he tempt and persecute the prophets and the saints? He said that it was his job and he didn't mean any harm. And when I asked about what happened in Jesus' case, because in my mind, like, that's the most notorious story in the Holy Bible. Growing up, I never really read other books related to God besides the Holy Bible, and then reference books to help me understand what I was reading. So, I'm sure there's other religions or spiritual teachings that go extensively into Satan, but yeah, I just know what everybody else know in general, and that's what happened with Jesus, right? Because he one of our favorite peoples. He said, I said, what happened in Jesus' case then? Like, you is telling me anything. He said, I offered him a job, and he cursed me to my face. And that Jesus was hungry, thirsty, and homeless, wandering in the desert. I might have teased him a little. Because I'm looking at him like, yeah, right, whatever. He was like, I might have teased him a little, but it looked like he needed some help. So I offered him work and wages, but was rejected. I'm telling you, I had to go back in the Bible and read that whole, read all of that quite a few times after my encounter with Satan. But I couldn't extrapolate anything else, okay, than what he told me about that. So in addition to these few, Mother Earth, the Green Giant, Babylon, Jesus, he was okay with being called that name. He know a lot of people call him that. And Enoch and Solomon conversed with me as well. So I had to deal with Solomon and his witches and his demons. And it was just like a whole, like they bombarded me back to back to back to back. Now, mind you, I was suffering for like 5 years. Then in the 6th year, I started writing the book. And do you know that all of these supernatural beings didn't start making themselves like known to me until I was writing the 7th book? Okay? And this is what I'm sharing with you, the path to the tree of life. They was all on board telling me they whole ins and outs, okay? And they had something very different to say than what we used to hearing. Okay? So, it was a whole list of entities and dialogues that is too expansive to tell about here and now. I must admit that I was perturbed about these encounters and how it was that I was able to perceive and converse with them. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you, like, when it happened, there was like like I knew who I was talking to. Nobody ever formally introduced, hi, I'm Lucifer. It didn't happen that way. It was like I knew. Now, there were some instances where I didn't know. I just was aware that it was a spiritual entity, but they wanted me to know, okay, because of the stuff that I was finding out on my own, and I was baffled about what to share, and they just wanted me to get. It's kind of like they needed somebody to tell a story that wasn't influenced by what's already out there. So, kind of straight from the horse's mouth. So, it was explained to me that it was because I was killed and resurrected into the same body. So, in the beginning of this video, I read about that. So, okay, so I was murdered, okay? And I came back to life. And that was a resurrection. I wasn't reborn again in a baby's body. So for those of you who believe in reincarnation, that's like you die, your soul is born again in another human body or whatever. Okay, so I came back to life. So that is considered being resurrected into the same body. But I still had to go through the judgment day, okay? And that's the walk through the fire, actually. It's a judgment. I had to go through some sort of spiritual and mental reincarnation process until the 7th year benchmark. So if you remember me saying, I'm almost there, okay? I'm at the 6th year, 6th month, and actually the 6th day is approaching, but I didn't want to wait because that they kept bringing that up, like it was something about that. So, and they have gotten kind of quiet in the last month. I haven't had too many encounters with the supernatural beings, except Shiva. She's been with me. Okay, and she's basically helping me bring this to you. Okay, I think that the supernatural beings that I encountered, I think that they're the 24 elders before the throne of God, and that the Lamb of God is any one of us who, for lack of better words to explain it, are found walking in their shoes. Yes, of course, I asked about the lake of fire, the mark of the beast, and some more. I got answers. It's just not important right now. Speaking of shoes, when I was first told that I was Eve, oh my God, you should have seen my response. I would need to have a whole conversation on the real awakening, like when it first happened. Oh my gosh, I languished in fear and dread that I had done something unforgiving. I mean, I cried. I felt awful. I was like, oh no, I felt dirty. They was like, go take a bath. They bathed. It was so much. It was so much. I kept thinking, though, if this is true, like, moving forward, I just kept thinking about how not to make the same mistake twice. Because somehow in my upbringing, I was indoctrinated that, she was an awful person. Eve represented a nation of people. It was an inferior nation of people. But after a closer look into this, I have been shown other aspects of her name that no one ever talks about. I've also, since she arrived, It's a whole lot no one's talking about. And I can understand why. Also, when I inquired about Babylon's gloom and doom, you know, the whole Bible is about the fall of Babylon, right? We're going to Satan, we're going to tear your king, all that stuff. See, that's getting people in trouble at the gates. That's why I had to help y'all out. And maybe we're going to walk through these gates together, because the stuff that we thinking, people was getting turned away at the gate. So when I inquired about that, and when I inquired it, I was speaking to them. After Lucifer and Solomon and all them showed up, then here come Babylon. An actual spirit. I was under the impression, female spirit. So I asked her, like, what's up with that? Why you so hated? And why they calling you the whore of this and that? And she was like, I understand a little bit more about that even after Eve show up. But she said, I was just protecting myself and just trying to survive, using magic spells of protection as a defense. She pointed the finger at Barbella, whom I had never heard of before our conversation. So I looked her up, but that's all I know of is what is written about her in the Gnostics teaching. I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I'm not familiar. I had to look things up after these encounters with these supernatural beings. But the Gnostic teachings is where I found stuff about Barbella. Okay? And it's Barbella. Now, when you on the path, you're going to encounter a lot of supernatural beings. And it's because of my spiritual upbringings. Like, I wasn't really trying to engage with them. You know, they came to me and started conversing with me. So many showed up, I stopped praying. Not because I don't believe, but because I'm seeing evidence. And you know, I'm just wondering how much we don't know. Well, a couple of them shared something to me about prayer, but that was one of the tools used against. That's not good. Okay, it's hard to explain, but Lucifer was the first one who pointed this out. Okay, and then it came up again when, okay, I'm telling you, we got to make a whole nother video just on my supernatural encounters, because I felt like I was conjured. And they were drilling me and asking me all kinds of questions. And then the idea came up about prayer, because it's like, yeah, like, how would you like it if you had, 144,000 telepathic children in your head? Okay. And so there's a difference between pray, P-R-A-Y, and pray, P-R-E-Y. And during one of those episodes when I was being conjured, it was the spirit in me. It was like the spirit in me took me somewhere for a change. You know how we go about our day, we drag our spirits around with us. No, my spirit took me somewhere. So when my spirit was talking to the other beings, it said to them, are you praying or are you praying? And it was like a thing, like they laughed, like it was like, like they knew. And I was just finding out from being present with my spirit. It was my spirit's company. I was like, I was like I was in the back seat, you know, like a passenger in a cab, a taxi cab. I was just observing this or witnessing these encounters. Okay. So she pointed the finger at Barbello. This was Babylon. And the only thing I know about Barbello is in the Gnostic teachings. I had never heard of her before. And somehow there seems to be some connection to Eve. So I left it all at that. However, there are very similar punishments that was prophesied to befall Babylon that fits the description of my own sufferings. So the seventh book was mostly to provide a synoptic overview of the causes and cure to MDI disorder and death. So remember, I'm on a mission to find out how to get to the tree of life and eternal life because I need healing. And you can't wait until you're in a situation and need healing to start trying to talk to God. That's not how it works. That's not how it works, okay? So MDI, what that stands for, and that's what the other 6 chapters, well, I really don't go into detail about MDI. That's something that's going to come out as this is one of the things we have to cure. And, you know, it's something, it's called multi-dimensional and multi-dimensional. Okay. So, multi-dimensional and multi-dimensional. And interrelational disorder. So, that's why I am going through the book so that we can establish a rapport and we can connect our energies in as much as we can as possible just from like where you are. I mean, there are other steps to this. It's a real hands-on miracle, but it's very important that we clear up some of this. So a lot of this comes from the different dimensions, the different aspects of understanding, you know, the different religions. Divided we okay. Together we stand, and divided we fall. Okay? Okay? And just by standing together and walking together and working together, we can overcome this. So to talk about this is like to focus on a problem when the only thing that matters is intervention, prevention, and protection. So we're just going to focus on the actions. We're just going to focus on a cure. And then after we deal with all of that, then we can better understand part of the miracle that we worked. Okay. The scepter of Judah's victory. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the scepter of Judah's victory. And then I'm going to end our video there because I think this is something you all want to see. And So I'm gonna let it soak in by giving you the words, but there's actually a graphical depiction. Now, our ancestors, they left us a gift in Revelations. The flaming sword, remember? The flaming sword that the cherubim held. I think it's Genesis chapter 3, to keep the way of the tree of life. I found it hidden in plain sight. Okay? The flaming sword that is also the key to overcoming the three-headed dog that guards the entrance to Hades. Now, the heads, we back in Revelation, the heads are also known as dragon, beast, and false prophet. Remember they was like the beast, the three-headed beast? This is what it was. It was the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. Now, I don't want to really get into the side subjects of dragons and false prophets and the beasts. But again, that's just like this MDI. It's something we gonna overcome together. We don't have to give it power by talking about it anymore. There's a million videos on YouTube and over the internet where everybody's trying to find out about the scary beast. It's not even like that. We don't have the right backup knowledge until now, background knowledge until now, okay? But now that we have it, we can clear up some of that, okay? So remember, an image of a beast having a name, a number, and a mark, right? That's all we hear about in Revelations. The mark of the beast, the dragon, the fall. This is about as much as I'm going to talk about it until we have to walk the walk, okay? And so that's not the talk we need right now. But after we go through things, you know, we can have some discussions, but we got to be walking the walk. So right now, we just warming up. We just getting our motors running, and we, you know, turning on the lights in the attic that we might have to change some light bulbs, you know, because we haven't went in the attic for quite a few thousand years. So we just want to stay on focus here, okay? But there is like a whole book that can be written about that itself. But it would be better for us to just, after we get a more understanding, we get further down the path, and then look at it and tell me what you think, what you see. Please notice here how Hades and heads are anagrams. So you have the dragon had 3 heads. Hades. It's an anagram. Same letters in the words. Okay? This is part of the sorcery. This is part of the confusion. This is part of the Babylonian language. That's why they called it the Babel. Okay, the Bible, the Babel. Okay, well, we're gonna get into that another time. But this is one of the keys to understanding that has never been found. No one's talking about it. No one knows about it, but we know now. Okay, prophet and prophet are homonyms, and that's mostly why it's called false prophet. So here's again 2 words that sound alike, but they're written different. They're different words. So it's no prophets. It's false prophets, right? Going to church and stuff. That's what everybody's you know, it's becoming a common story where people are not feeling like they profit. So they false prophets. Okay. Now dragon. Dragon and drag on are also anagrams. That's why the buck stops here. We are going to stop dragging it on. All right? See? We don't want to talk about dragons and false prophets yet until we no longer fall into that category. That's another reason why I want to leave that alone right now, because walking the path 108 to the tree of life, okay, it's profitable. You'll be able to see, measure, feel how it profiteth us, okay? We're going to stop dragging it on and earn grace and mercy because we walk in the walk instead of talking the talk, you know? The words of fire, it says swords. Okay, so sword and words are anagrams, right? So you have sword and then you have words. So when it talks about the three-headed beast, the dragon and the false prophet, they talk about having the sword, you know, lending to the image that they mouth. Okay, in Revelations, it actually says that with their mouths, they hurt people with fire, smoke, and sulfur. Okay? So, with their words, which is an anagram for sword, okay? They go that fire again. Okay, so the wielder or welder or elder, now we get into the 24 elders that was before the throne of God. Okay, because an elder is a wielder. The elder is the wielder or the welder. Okay, you see that? See the connection? And to find the greatest connection, you should look up those words, wielder and welder. Okay? So the wielder or the welder or the elder of this sword is called the fiery one, who is riding a red horse and was endowed with the power to take peace from the earth. So the red horse, you know how they talk about the four horsemen? The four horsemen? One was black, one was pale, one was white, and one was red. That's one of the four horsemen. It was riding a red horse and he had a sword and he was given the power to take peace from the earth. Okay, but I think as far as we're concerned, the power can only be invoked. The power can only be invoked to bring peace to the earth. Okay? And so that's the miracle. By us working together, we gonna be doing this, bringing peace to the earth. So the flaming sword, okay, is Judah's scepter. Granted upon a pending magnanimous victory prescribed in the Holy Bible. And I think that's why they didn't show up until the supernatural beings that's been conversing with me, Dive Satan and all of them. They didn't show up until I got to the 7th chapter. Okay? So, you know, we have a magnanimous victory ahead of us because we not dragging it on, and we gaining grace and mercy. And I'm going to show you a picture of this image, and that's how this video is going to end, and then that's how the next one is going to start, because that's very important. But it resembles a butterfly needle used in the medical field to administer an antidote. I'm talking about the flaming sword that I found in Revelations, hidden in plain sight. So a butterfly needle, a therapeutic medicinal agent is injected through your skin, okay? And it's used in the medical field. So what we have here, this miracle, is a therapeutic medicinal agent that should provide a synergistic effect with the body's compositional disposition and natural healing mechanisms of action. One single dose is its measure for one needy person and a benefit for all. Okay, so part of the riddle was like, we end up in our own little personal situation. But when you going through the fire and you trying to earn grace and mercy, and there is no room to lie, like it's just some kind of way they know how to speak and speak directly to your soul and mind. You don't, it's not about the words you saying out your mouth. Nobody's asking you anything like about your true intentions. Your true intentions manifest themselves in what you say. So from my experience, I was going through something, but I just kept thinking, man, this is affecting so many people. This problem. So this is where a lot of it took form. My book is all about solutions, okay? And my thing has been, I always knew charity was our chariot. So it was instinctively where I was at with all of this when I was discovering it all. Every time I discovered, I was like, oh, who can I tell? Along the way. Only a worthy cause and purpose formed by fire, fueled by a burnt blood sacrifice offering, willingly and or unwillingly. There is one law for all to be willed it. So we all have the power. There go that word again, willed. We all have the power to be willed the flaming sword. But we don't all know about it. And what I found out about it is it's not, okay, like I said, you gotta have selfless intentions. Okay? So it's a set of universal conditions for it to be willed. So we have be willed, and then remember, willed. Okay, because it's some things that our soul knows, and it's some things the soul can't access until we actually have the intention. And that's why in the beginning of this video or the introduction video, I said, doesn't matter what your religion is, it doesn't matter, like what you believe, it just matters what your intentions are. Okay, we can all have a good intention, okay, for peace on earth, for life eternal. But we might not be coming all from the same spiritual backgrounds, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Okay. The seven spirits of God built an obstacle course for Adam. A general description of the challenge is outlined in the 22 chapters of Revelations, which is the 66th book of the Bible. It's a perpetual game of procreation of life, heaven and earth. Every 1,000 years we play this game, tally a score, reap the harvest of the earth. According to the Holy Bible, I have read, I can see, and have heard with much reiteration that the 7,000th year mark is the hour of judgment, the grand finale, where our overall blessings and curses are weighed and judged with whatever grace and mercy factors in. We receive our rewards, and some get to create with the power and authority of the creators of the heavens and earths and everything in them. Okay? So that's what happened. The encounters with the jinn beings, the supernatural beings. That's what it ended up manifesting as. I want to tell you something, but like basically they gave me their crowns, but I think that's why they converse with me, to see my true intentions. And even though I'm Hebrew, I didn't go in, I didn't approach them at the gate talking all that jazz, They was like, you here to usurp me? I was like, nope, I'm just looking for healing and a miracle. And I'll tell you about my situation later, because I do still need my own personal healing and my own personal miracle. But it's kind of like the 12 labors of Hercules. Like they always give you, it's something that's got to be done. So they gave me the crowns because the people, well, I don't know how to say this, but it was like those crowns, okay, I can't really go into that. That's out of the topic of the book, but I'm sharing those crowns. So if that wasn't in my intention, actually it's not something I expected. It was kind of like one of them ways they surprised me when they told me that. But basically I'm sharing the crowns with you right now. So this, is connected a little bit to like the knowledge of crown chakras, okay? And the knowledge that they shared with me, okay? That's part of the crown. The other part of the crown is the ability to perform this miracle. They didn't give me, they gave them crowns to me for us, y'all. For us. Okay? They did it for me to liquidate my assets and get out of my situation. But this is all I know. This is something very special, okay? And I couldn't go at it just straight like that. Just about a bunch of knowledge. So even after they gave me the crowns, when the gravity of the situation hit me, I was so touched I cried. Okay? But then I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? And what does that mean? And so that's a whole nother topic for another day. We're going to end there at the Scepter of Judah's Victory. Thanks for hanging in there with me. And I'll see you for the next part of the Sacred Writings of Shabbat. Shalom. Have a blessed day.